Hello everybody, my name is Sylvain Rochon and I am the Paradise Engineer. Today I want to talk about our progression from having to being. But that's really important, but perhaps a little odd in most of your new people's ears, because you don't really hear terms like this from a futurist, maybe me, perhaps, but it's really logical. It is, I'm talking about economic progress in a weird way. Because ultimately, when we're born, naked and cold, we are a human being, a child. There's no stamp on our forehead telling us what we should be doing, what careers we may take, what paths we may take, brand new. During our early childhood, we are kids, and we know that we want our kids to be, just to be. We don't like it when our kids start being a little, grabby and kind of try to own things and like, this is mine, this is mine. It's part of the process of learning about things and how things are shared. But in a way, we don't grow out of it, because in our adult life, and this has been true forever, we need to have in order to survive. This is the old, current economy. We figure out that just before, when we're a teen, essentially most of the time, that we'll have to get a job. We'll have to be responsible. We have to go to school. We must do this, have a diploma, have this, have that. Because without those haves, we can't have money. And without money, we can't support ourselves or our future family. It's part of survival. And that's why it's been around for such a long time. The people that have versus the have-nots. And we want to be part of the have gang. It's very logical that we've been turning around those ideas in different different parts of the countries, parts of the world more than others. But right now we're at a different stage. We're on the cusp of significant changes. And I've been talking about some of these changes due to technology, things that we also have. We have Alexa, we have Google, we have access to things, we have access to computers. We have all these things. We've accumulated knowledge, expertise, and technologies and systems and protocols and platforms over the years, over the history of humanity. Now we're at a point where we will have AGI available within the next 10 to 20 years. AGI being an artificial general intelligence. Therefore, an intelligence that is able to think like a human being, not feel, but to be as effective a worker or producer as a human being. So a fully replaceable, worker, basically, and one that can replace any worker as well. And so we're coming to the conclusion within this transition to a world where work, like a human work, becomes a hindrance to productivity, because it's like AI is just, and robots are just going to be so good and so fast and learning faster than we can manage, like developing new fields of work, but having AI being able to learn that faster than we can push anybody through school, or even an expert learning a new task. That's coming within the next 20 years as well. So where are we going to situate ourselves? I explained in other videos that we have to go from an employment-centered economy to a resource-centered or being-centered economy. I use different words, where we are just consumers, not workers. We don't participate in the productivity unless we kind of want to give our time to others, that actually, the other people that have a demand for our time. Specifically, we want a human being to do it, even though it's less effective, less productive, more energy intensive, because we want to have that human connection, that human interaction and social experience. So we'll still have some we'll still be doing things, but not because it's productive, but because we want to do it. That's the new economy of the future, and we're in the transition towards that. In this new economy, owning something doesn't mean the same thing as owning something now, because we have our basic needs met. Our AI and systems are hyper effective with the environment, at resource management. We're producing almost everything, especially the basic needs. We're producing them with where the populations are. So products don't need to come from China, from Vietnam, and from California in the case of produce. We can produce everything that we need with natural resources that are abundant and available locally or not that far off, using 3D printing, using vertical farming, using cultured meat, using solar energy, using metal-organic framework to capture water from the air. All things that exist right now, we just need to develop and deploy them more. It's a world of abundance where we don't need to work to live, because we can get the resources using AI, using all these distributed systems or even centralized system, both, to provide the whole population very effectively with the resources of the planet. And we're saving space on the planet doing that as well. Super low carbon footprint and everything. That's very exciting. So we have to kind of do the mind shift now to build that future that we don't need to have in order to be. We can just be. We can just be consumers, responsible consumers, healthy consumers, because we don't need to be stressed. We don't need to work for a living and break our backs unless we want. Volunteering is still going to be a thing. Volunteering our time to be an artist because we enjoy the art. Volunteering our time to serve some people at dinner in a gourmet restaurant because we enjoy the conversation and we enjoy the interaction and the smells of the food. Enjoy cooking in the back of the restaurant as a renowned chef, because people appreciate the art, the culinary art of a human being doing that, even though the robot can do it better. In practical sense, the social contract is giving and receiving voluntarily, while AI and robotics can provide all the basic stuff and productivity and increases in productivity exponentially without us being in the way because of disease, sickness, boredom, because we don't want to do the work 40 hours a week or even 10 hours a week. We want to do what we want to do. So the mindset has to change from one to the other to make that future evolve faster, become faster. Right now, we're on the cusp, because the technology is available to provide basic goods to everybody. But we're still within the old system where big companies and governments own most of the productivity. Depending on which nation, is going to be a different percentage of either socialism versus capitalism versus, democratic socialist countries. And, there's the gamut of options. But they're the ones, the rich or the leaders own the decision-making, and they own the processes and the systems. But what we really want, where we're headed, using AI, which is advanced by businesses to compete with each other, and by us consumers that want a lower price, more convenient product, we're driving ourselves out of the workplace because AI is being developed to satisfy those needs and productivity. So do we need to talk about money? Money is a construct, right? Because we're in this dilemma. It's like it's chicken and the egg, or the cart before the horse kind of situation. If people aren't working, then you don't have any money to pay for the goods that you're trying to be effective at buying and that companies are competing to get. It's not about the money. We're thinking about things in old terms. Like we think about money like it's a thing, like it has inherent value. It has the value we assign it to. If we could decide as a society, as a nation, even at more local level, that, money's fine. We're still going to use it, but we're going to build these systems that, we have our farming and our natural resources provisioning and mining and whatever it is to produce the resources to do 3D printing locally and all that stuff. And we automate everything and we put everything on information and the different transactions on a blockchain. Nobody owns those systems. It's all decentralized and open. The government even doesn't own it. It's the people, all the input. This is codable. This is a software that can be created. We could decide to do that. And then the AI is basically kind of fed and learns to start providing for us all equally based on the resources available and very effectively. It's not competing. It's not competing in the offer and demand market or the capitalistic market that creates the best prices. It's the motivations behind it. It's like those companies want to win, and so they are competing against each other, and that benefits us, the consumer. Within an AI system, the AI doesn't need to compete against itself or against another AI. It's programmed to be efficient by design. That's what it wants, is to be efficient. That it's trained to be as efficient as possible and to learn how to be more efficient over time. You program the AI to do that, and it's not biased. It's not trying to get rich. It's not trying to compete. It's not trying to do anything that a human being, motivated as we are and biased as we are, is trying to do. It's trying to do what it's programmed to do, and that is to take the best care of the environment, the best use of the resources to satisfy the need of the consumer, us. So the more we ask of it, the more it's going to produce. So we don't end up with a situation where there's a lack of resources because of what we asked for. No, its job is to give us what we need. And there's no situation where it's overproducing, because we're going to be, through the data of consumption, they anticipate that too. And it reduces or increases its consumption and use of resources accordingly. We could do that. Once we build that system outside of a government, outside of any kind of individual control, which blockchain and cryptocurrency kind of shows, it's Bitcoin is specifically in other open source systems shows that it's entirely possible, and it being immutable as well. You can build a system like that, and then you get to enjoy the results, and then we can add additional systems to that to satisfy other needs and more stuff in inventions and science and whatever you want it to do. And then eventually you have no one that absolutely needs to work. Otherwise, there's something missing in society. Over time, over layering advancements and improvements of systems and so on that nobody controls, you end up with a society that can simply focus on being. And that should be our goal, because when we're born, we want to be. When we're adults, we don't want to work. At least we don't want to be forced to work. Sometimes we enjoy our job. Sometimes we enjoy the experiences we have. Some people actually have that every day. They enjoy it. But we don't want to be forced into it, because otherwise there's repercussions, bad survivalist type of repercussions. You lose your job. Okay, now you're on food stamps, or you have to go to the food bank, or you have to go to another neighborhood in a cheaper housing project. These are repercussions that are sometimes very heavy on a person's mental health and physical health. We know that people that are poorer end up in the justice system a whole lot more. 80% of the justice system is filled with people that are underneath the poverty line. We know that healthcare is primarily filled with people that are under the poverty line, because there's mental and physical healthcare outcomes that arrive from being poor. just not having the resources available. Not because the people are dumb or unable to educate themselves, just don't have the right resources to feed their brain and their bodies to get anywhere ahead. It makes it way more difficult than somebody that has resources, that have contacts, that have education, that have a lot of a full belly and a no stress environment in a good neighborhood and so on. So the idea here is very simple. We have to change our mind now. We have to focus on, we can make the world today a world that is based on being. Because that's the end goal. That's the goal. The goal starts with a shift in the mind and a desire to get somewhere. And that means your mind has to change now to wanting to be, not to have things. And then you can build those systems that enable it for a lot of other people. And if enough people are being right now and building for a better world, for human beings to be human beings, just to be comfortable, everything provided for at a basic level, striving for whatever they want, the stars. Resources are available, abundant, no scarcity. Then we're going to get there. We're going to get to that goal really quickly. And I would argue that we must drive towards that aggressively, because in 20 years, like I said, 10 to 20 years, AGI is coming. All this automation is happening. Huge investments constantly. We've only seen the tip of the iceberg. I talk about this in my other videos, give you plenty of examples. If we don't move fast enough, we'll end up reacting to the changes, because our economy is going to collapse on its own without us having a plan to transition. And then we suffer from scarcity because the systems that provide abundance are not in place or in the hands of people of power that are kind of struggling to sell, and they want to keep selling. Why would they give away if there's no backdrop or backstop? Why would they give their stuff away if the only way for them to survive and their company to survive and their power to survive is to continue selling? So we have to change the system by creating a new system, even if in small localities. Create an example of where people can kind of relax, say, okay, I'm taken care of here. I trust the system because the system is not people, right? And it's effective, and I can give the system data and it learns immediately. It doesn't need to go into committees. That's the world I want to build as a Paradise Engineer. First, build here. Then we build out there. That's it for now. Ciao.